This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome into the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. No more confusion over what the Yankees are. We know what they are. They're a team that can beat the snot out of the Tampa Bay Rays at the Yankees spring training stadium. And they're a team that's like 10 games under 500 against the teams that matter. And the rest of their schedule is hilarious. And they have a week now against the Nationals and White Sox, and they're going to lose some of those games, and it's going to be annoying, but it's not going to be devastating. Hopefully, maybe it will be. I don't know, but at least it's not the Red Sox or the Jays or the Tigers or the Astros. But then they've got the Astros, Jays, Tigers, and Red Sox all in a row. And if the Red Sox didn't end the Yankees season on Saturday, then they have a really good opportunity to do it at Fenway Park 3 weeks from now. At the tail end of a stretch of 4 series, the Yankees are probably slated to lose all in a row because it's August veering into September now. If you've got hope for the Yankees, got hope that the new look bullpen is going to figure it out and the lineup is going to start coming up clutch and everyone's going to take Giancarlo Stanton's lead. It's 81 games of 40 and 41 ball. It's hanging out at the bottom of the wild card race, but not differentiating themselves. It's thanking God that the Rangers beat up Cleveland this week, but now realizing that the Rangers are pretty much just as close to Cleveland, to you as Cleveland is. So now you got to start rooting against the Rangers, these under 500 teams that we're rooting against in the playoff race. That is where the Yankees are after starting the season 42 and 25. And that is where they are after getting bullied by the Red Sox yet again this weekend at home in the Bronx. Boston took the first 3. Yankees somehow took the last one. And Tyler Kepner on The Athletic wrote a column about how that was a reminder of what could be. And they are going to have a chance in October. And yeah, they're at least going to get into the dance or whatever. But the Joel Sherman column that went up Saturday was much more reminiscent. This was a little bit of a hard series to categorize, I guess, if you're out there trying to be objective, because did the Yankees get bullied? With a gigantic sigh, I will say no, because the first game was winnable and the second game was winnable and they won the fourth, and the third one they got punched in the 9th inning, and that was Paul Blackburn trying to soak up innings, and that was Garrett Crochet against the Yankees middle relief and a guy who's going to get DFA'd today probably for Fernando Cruz. But the series was so endemic of what happens whenever the Yankees face a team like this, a rival, a strong team, specifically in the American League or the Dodgers. They play tight. They hold their own. When it's time to get a big hit, they spend 8 innings not doing it. The other team does it once or twice. The other team puts the game away. That's what happened in the opener. That's what happened in the second game. Connor Wong, a 100 hitter, hits the deciding blow in a 1-0 game. That game has no business being 1-0. The Yankees rolled over and died in front of Brian Bayo, who, yes, owns them, and yes, is a good pitcher. But again, no excuse for the non-competitive at-bats. No excuse for the 1-0 loss. And that set up, a game where they got kicked early again. Will Warren couldn't do the job. And then they were behind the 8 ball trying to barely hang on for dear life against Garrett Crochet. And that's a hard place to barely hang on for dear life against. I called this Yankees season the other day. I called it barely hanging on most of the time, or not, like hanging on for dear life and occasionally hanging on for all 9 innings. Because that's what happens. Yeah. Every single game, they're on the absolute razor's edge. They could give it away in a blink at any moment. They almost gave away last night's 5-0 with the bases loaded and 2 outs. It becomes 5-2. Jaron Duran is the tying run at the plate. 5-2. Devin Williams comes in. Anthony Volpe comes in as a defensive replacement. Like all of even the comfortable wins, they're hanging on the edge. And sometimes they survive, like they did in Tampa when Devin Williams put the tying run on second in extra innings. But often they don't. They usually just don't. They hang on for dear life, and then they die. And then occasionally they survive and make you think about what a better world it would be if they won more often. So we got to talk about the Yankees and Sox. As always, we got to talk about Nathaniel Lowe, who's the best hitter in baseball after the Red Sox got him for free. We got to talk about Anthony Volpe, the worst qualified hitter in baseball with a 210, with that many plate appearances and an average under 210 and an OPS under 700. We got to talk about the bright spots, I guess, yesterday, but mostly just another squandered series, a series that looked exactly like your worst case scenario for a Yankees-Red Sox series, and this one took place in the Bronx. Thomas Carinante, welcome to the show. I really hate these. I hate Yankees Red Sox series. I don't care if they win or lose. It's a lost weekend for me. It's a painful weekend. And then sometimes they lose every single game, and it really is. And it really feels like this. This was shitty.
Yeah, it sucks. It's at this point we sound like whiny Red Sox fans who used to do this when they were afraid when the Yankees would come to town, and now the script just has been flipped. It's not that I'm afraid of the Red Sox necessarily. It's just more so I have no trust in the Yankees.
My team's not going to show up.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
It's the same. Red Sox fans, it doesn't take much for them to aggravate me and infuriate me. But all year long, they've been doing like, just get me to a packed Fenway in the playoffs. Chills. Remember the old day, the good old days. We got to get back to the good old days. You've bullied the fucking Yankees in 2018, 21, 2023, 2025. Since 2023, you have the best record of any team that has played the Yankees. The number of times you put, you're like 23-12 against the Yankees. These are the good old days. You own your chief rival. And what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you? You finished 500. Sorry. You're back to being a World Series contender this year. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry you had to go through that.
What are the good old days for the Red Sox? Because all anybody tells me is that pre-2004 was the worst existence of all time for Boston.
And post-2004 is the same thing. You win a World Series, you go through a down 1.5 years where you still have a mental edge over the Yankees, and then you win a World Series again.
Yeah. So the good old days were 2007. Good to know, guys. Real extensive history there of playoff success and packing Fenway Park in October, I guess. I don't know. Either way, it's for me, it's lack of trust in the Yankees. It's not fear of the Red Sox. I think we've done a fair amount of not hyping up the Red Sox, but I think giving them credit this year. They're a good team. They have very good depth. They have tremendous athletes. They have a lot of versatility. They have a manager who is very good, but who we hate. But they're still not great. They're a good team that can maybe go on a run, but when they are exposed, they look bad. And I like the beginning of the season for them was as honestly as bad as it got for most teams that had any sort of playoff hope. You fast forward to the last couple weeks, they lost 7 of 10 or 8 of 10. The Yankees won 8 of 10. And then you're looking at this series coming in and you're like, Yankees have a chance to do it. Are they going to do it? I said myself, if they win 3 out of 4, they'll fully suck me back in. They lose 3 out of 4. And you look at the box score, and these outside of Saturday, it was just the Yankees being the worst team. And I'm not taking anything away from the Red Sox because they did get good performances. Garrett Crochet dominated. Brian Bayo dominated. Nate Lowe stepped up. Roman Anthony hit that big home run. So it's not like that. It's not like the Red Sox were no-shows, but you rewind to Thursday night, and the Red Sox went 3 for 19 with runners in scoring position and left 14 runners on base, and they win that game
against a Yankees team too. That again, not an excuse. Good teams overcome this shit. But for the second straight Yankees Red Sox series, the Red Sox got an off day and the Yankees got an extra inning game on the road late night. So in Kansas, it was a 9-inning game in Kansas City, but it had a rain delay. And then they went to Fenway and looked flat as hell for 3 days. This was a 10-inning game in Tampa. They fly in. Michael Kay says he gets back to his room at 4 to 5 a.m. Who knows when the Yankees got back. Good teams wake up the next day still ready to kick ass. The Yankees are not a good team firing on all cylinders these days. Not an excuse. They should be able to overcome that. But it would be nice if MLB would not give the Red Sox an off day to travel from Boston to New York while not giving the Yankees any time at all to breathe.
I agree. And sometimes it is the little things, and the only reason we're asking for that, like at all, is because, again, we don't trust the Yankees. It's not that, oh, this is incredibly unfair. How could this happen to me? It's no. Yeah. The Red Sox literally cannot have a singular extra edge in these series because it will end up the way we just watched it end up. You look at Friday, 1 for 11. The Red Sox go 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Do you want to know how many runners with scoring position opportunities the Yankees had in this game? 0. None. 2 runners left on base. Nobody got into scoring position on a Friday night game in which they lost 1-0 because they can't hit Brian Bayo. Aroldis Chapman comes in, easiest save of his life. Never saw him make a save like that again in a big game for the Yankees that seamlessly. You have Max Fried finally rebound. We'll talk about that in a little while. And the offense is nowhere to be found.
Mismatch.
Saturday, comedy of errors. I mean, the Red Sox dominated that game, and the Yankees were absolute clowns. So, I mean, it is what it is. At that point, you had Thursday and Friday happen. Saturday happening is not a surprise with the manner in which they not only gave those both of those games away, they entered them low energy. And look, this is all indicative, and the reason why we don't trust the Yankees, it's indicative of exactly how they play. Red Sox come into this series ice cold. Yankees come into this series scorching hot. Yankees start this series off as if they are the ice cold team. Script gets flipped. Then you want to talk about Aaron Boone. And we'll go more in depth with this in a few, but Aaron Boone before this series was essentially laughing at the Talking Yanks guys for suggesting that, hey, maybe play it a little bit safe on Wednesday against the Rays so the bullpen can be lined up against the Red Sox because it's a 4-game series and those games matter more. And Aaron Boone cannot comprehend that Red Sox games in a tight wild card race matter more than a random game against the Rays on the schedule. I'm not saying punt the game. I'm not saying bench everybody and figure out how to get into the Red Sox series completely well rested and ignoring everything else. I'm not saying overlook the Rays as an opponent who doesn't deserve your attention, but like admit that when you're neck and neck in a wild card race with the team you hate the most, that everybody hates the most, those games are more important. They just are. And the fact that the Yankees go through the season every single year with the equilibrium mindset of all these series. Oh, all these games matter. Oh, really? All these games matter to you? So then why do we treat the regular season as if it doesn't matter? And then you're going to tell me that every game has the same type of magnitude attached to it. You know what I want this year? I want the Yankees to make the playoffs because I like the Yankees and I'm a Yankees fan. Yep. And I want them to have the same fucking record as the Red Sox at the end of this year. So the Red Sox win the tiebreaker and then the Yankees pay the price. So then 1 year coming out of this, finally, the Yankees can sit back and say, yeah, the tiebreaker matters. We learned the harsh lesson in 2021. But guess what? The playoff formatting changed, and there's no such thing as a 1-game wild card anymore, so we can get through that. Well, maybe this year you won't. Maybe you'll finish with the exact same record this time around, and maybe you'll end up in Houston. So enjoy. That's what I hope happens. And then if the Yankees get by and they can figure it out, great. But to me, they deserve nothing. They deserve zero edge. I don't know for this Red Sox team to win the most games in a row against the Yankees they tied the record from 2009 and from 1914 or 1912, I think it was. Yeah. For this team to do that, that just goes to show that the Yankees are woefully unprepared and are not where they need to be. And that's really all it comes down to. Aaron Judge, the captain, I respect him talking about how it's on the players and the execution is where all of this stems from. The Yankees need to execute. Yes, the Yankees need to execute, but guess what? There's lineup changes that go into putting the team in position to execute. There are proper pitching decisions to make. There are proper motivational tactics, and the Yankees have none of them. None of them ever lined up in unison. So that's where I'm at with this. This result of the series is not surprising. It doesn't necessarily make me any more angry than I already was. I went into the series hopefully feeling more confident about it. I didn't really give myself any more room to be more upset.
No, I just can't believe they won last night because, after this whole thing.
But what is that? That is accidentally winning a baseball game.
Oh, it doesn't prove.
You have to win a baseball game, and they did it. So
it doesn't prove anything to me. But I've done so many of these Yankees Red Sox series over the years, and I know when the Sox win the first 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 like that, the Yankees do not win the 4th game. They did a really good job in the first half when they were competent of not being swept, of avoiding these really tough road series. The Detroit one earlier in the year stands out where they just got overmatched in the first 2, rallied in the final. They were doing a really good job of never having a clean sweep on their resume. And then in the second half, they've done the opposite. They have done a really bad job of avoiding sweeps. They let the ball roll downhill in Miami. They somehow survived that last game in Texas, but by and large, they were getting swept, starting with the Red Sox in June, because they avoided the sweep against the Dodgers and then go to Fenway and get rocked and get their face rearranged. Okay, so an Aaron Boone firing, like, I don't think you don't need to build up a case of moment after moment and say, Exhibit A, the Ahmed Rosario pinch hitting opportunity. And just, you don't need to build your case that way. What we know at this point is that an Aaron Boone team, like you said, is not going to treat a regular season series like the Red Sox to be more important than a regular season series in Tampa. And the Yankees had a 3-0 lead in the 8th inning of that last game in Tampa, and Luke Weaver and David Bednar squandered it. Those are your big guns. Those are the only two people in the bullpen I trust right now. That's not to say that you should go to somebody less trustworthy, like in the non-circle of trust, but if you're going to Devin Williams in a 5-2 game at Fenway there, you can go to Devin Williams, in the 9th inning of that 3-1 game, maybe. I hate to throw Devin Williams in a save situation, and I know you used Weaver in the 7th. You don't want to take him out before you have to.
You just can't bring in Devin Williams with in extras.
No, I wouldn't have done that. And he barely survived with the skin of his teeth. But Mark Leiter Jr., in my opinion, can maybe close out that one. I don't know. Cam Schlittler's, you've got the wrinkle of there's a perfect game bid, so you're extending Cam Schlittler further than you probably want to. Mm-hmm. And then you have a big jam. You bring in Weaver to save the game for him, and then Weaver better cover the 8th too. But if there's any way to not use Bednar in that game, I would love to be in that world. But apparently we're not in that world, and he came in and blew the save anyway. And thankfully they won. But when they won, at that moment, I was like, oof. If they had blown that game, then we're setting up horrible omens for the Red Sox series. And now I think we have a chance to at least survive. And I didn't think the Yankees were going to win. I didn't think they were going to take 3 out of 4. But I thought this would be a pretty, even with their struggles in the first half, a solid split opportunity. They would exit the series up 2 games in the loss column on Boston. And I had written off finishing ahead of Boston long ago. They're trying to hang on for dear life a week and a half ago. They were a half game up on a playoff spot. They were tied in the loss column for a playoff spot. So I had stopped even entertaining finishing ahead of Boston. And then somehow they snuck ahead of Boston. And I was like, okay, all you have to do is maintain even keel at home. Take one of these first 2, take the final game, take the back half. Just don't get yourself in a situation where you're drowning unless you don't win. You got to win Sunday Night Baseball to avoid drowning. But then they played this series like an Aaron Boone team. We all know what that means at this point. And after Saturday, the Paul Blackburn game, again, not Paul Blackburn's fault. That's probably going to be his only outing in pinstripes. It will not be memorable. It inspired a ton of think pieces, probably unnecessarily. But I do think most of the think pieces did not aim their vitriol at Blackburn and the offense. They aimed their vitriol at the culture of complacency that has led to defensive meltdown after defensive meltdown. And not just meltdowns, poor fundamentals, throwing behind runners you shouldn't be throwing behind, throwing to the wrong base, Anthony Volpe throwing a second on a grounder to short, strange happenings, odd behaviors. And that is Aaron Boone's culture. So yeah, I could put up a laundry list and say, oof, not pinch hitting Ahmed Rosario for Jazz Chisholm with Ben Rice on third with 1 out in the 7th. Game 1 was fireable by Boone. I'm done saying individual decisions are fireable at this point. And I'm also not going to say, oh yeah, firing Aaron Boone is going to change everything. This team is well equipped for a playoff run as long as they get Aaron Boone out of that lead chair as decision maker. And I don't think they're going to fire Aaron Boone midseason, even if they got swept in that Red Sox series. I don't think it was on the table. But you just watch the way that this team approaches the Red Sox and the Blue Jays specifically, also the Astros, also the Tigers. But we're talking AL East teams with a winning record. The Yankees had a winning record against winning AL East teams in 2022, but not in 21, 23, 24, and 25. This is their worst yet. They were 4-15, so they're 5-15 against AL East teams with winning records at this point. And so, yeah, I do think giving Aaron Boone a bench with Ahmed Rosario and at least some form of platoon option, RIP Austin Slater, and then not watching him get used at all because you just, you like jazz or whatever. You have to manage modern baseball like modern baseball. You have to go on gut sometimes, but you also have to say, I have a distinct advantage here. I'm going to use it. And then Jazz goes down with the most feckless plate appearance of all time. I think that's, a manager neglecting his bench like that. Yeah, that could be fireable. And even one like the Nestor Cortez move in the World Series last year. You want to focus on individual moves? Yeah, that's a fireable one. If you're classifying any of these individual moves as fireable, there's one for you. But I think it's much more about the culture of malaise, complacency, the summer dip. Even Aaron Judge saying, we can't talk about the past. We've got to focus on the present. We've got a lot we can still do ahead of us. The Saturday game wasn't the past until it was over and you lost it, though, right? So if you're focused on the present, you could have started earlier that day by focusing on the fucking baseball game you had to play. Instead, they focus, we're going to put that one in the past. But it's only in the past because you just lost it. It was in the present 3 hours ago. So I don't trust any of this regrouping gibberish. And I don't even think I'm on record that I don't think Aaron Boone is like an absolutely negative force and you can't win with him in a vacuum. But the Yankees are too far down the rabbit hole now. These Yankees can't win with this man in charge. A combination of not doing a good enough job of learning on the job and just the culture of malaise that he has created. He might be able to start fresh somewhere else. I don't think Aaron Boone is ineligible to win a World Series, but not here, not now.
No. Anaheim calling for Aaron at some point. I have tried to be somewhat nicer and objective with that. I used to agree with you for the most part. Like, okay, you want to blame everything on Aaron Boone, then fine. But like at the end of the day, it's a lot of it comes down to roster construction and the Yankees having to chase their tail at the trade deadline, and then the prices not being where they need to be for Brian Cashman to make the moves that he needs to make. Then it comes down to, other things. Aaron Judge being unable to play, delivering so many high leverage moments when it matters. The rest of the team kind of just folding. The lack of the fundamentals that are taught in the minor leagues. Like, that's not Aaron Boone's fault. You have Clint Frazier starting a podcast now about the Yankees. He's talking about the lineups and how some days you don't know you're starting until the game is about to start. He talks about how Boone would bring a lineup to the front office and the front office would bring a lineup to Boone, and then they would sit there and determine what decision was best, and felt like the front office won out most times. So for the Nestor Cortez decision, was it on Aaron Boone? I guess it could have been, but feels like that's a front office thing. Ahmed Rosario not coming in for a pinch hit decision, is that an Aaron Boone thing? I also think that's the same thing. I think it's a coin flip. Maybe they're saying, Aaron, it's up to you, but we could totally be fine with keeping Jazz in there. And then Aaron says, yeah, no, that's all right with me. I'm going to go with that. It kind of
felt, the Rosario pinch hitting decision was so stupid, though, that it felt like when Goldschmidt was hurt and couldn't pinch hit, and everybody was like, what the hell is with Boone? And then it came out that Goldschmidt just was, unable to walk. It was like, okay, is Rosario's shoulder okay? Because, like, if it is, he should be in there.
He plays the next day, and you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess he's fine.
Yeah. So I think that, again, to summarize it all, I think Boone is obviously disadvantaged by either what the front office wants or the personnel that's put in front of him. At the same time, you're a manager. What happens in the game is your call. What is Brian Cashman going to do? Storm the field if you make a decision that doesn't align with whatever he instructed you to do? That's number one. Number two is you have to work with what the front office gives you. So, okay, you haven't had a bench for years and you've had an incomplete bullpen for the last couple of years. Figure it out, man. That's literally the job. And there are a lot of managers who are much worse off in terms of personnel who are able to do less with more. And then lastly is, again, the culture. So, like, you have Aaron Judge after these games saying literally a different version of what Aaron Boone would say. You have Anthony Volpe back in the Toronto series talking about how nothing he possibly ever done could have been categorized as a mistake, because why would it? Why would it be? Why would I ever make a mistake? Why wouldn't my defensive read be aggressive and praised when I'm trying to get the lead runner out? Why would that not be the possibility? So, the list goes on and on. Really, the only candid players here in terms of laying it on is like Giancarlo Stanton, and Ben Rice actually speaks, and then everybody else is there with monotone, dejected, contrived quotes that feel scripted. And again, also goes back to what Clint Frazier was saying. When you're a young Yankee, you are in PR training classes. So you are literally just there to delete time off of the postgame or the pregame, fielding questions with reporters to not give them anything. But guess where we've arrived at now? They've been now for 2 years giving bulletin board material by having these low energy comments after series, by working overtime to pretend like other games don't matter more than others, working overtime to pretend that errors and gaffes and miscommunications and poor play is just a blip on the radar and you don't have to worry about it. So now we're looking at the culture of complacency coming full circle. And now I think that is where we can finally say that, yeah, it's time, that this leadership is not working out, whether it's the front office forcing Boone to do this or whether it's Boone not feeling like he can escape the grasp of the front office. I don't know what changes need to be made. Again, Clint Frazier was saying that if you're going to fire Boone, you have to fire like 6 other people. That's usually been my belief. But at the same time, I think that at the very least, if you get somebody in there with some different sort of vibe or energy or messaging, that will go a pretty long way here. And that wouldn't affect the lineup. That wouldn't affect, I think, the status quo in terms of what the front office wants in terms of certain personnel decisions or roster moves. So that's pretty much where I'm at, because this series comes down to messaging. This series doesn't necessarily come down to matchups. Like, yes, you win the battle within the battle by putting the right bullpen guy in or making the right pinch hit decision or pinch run decision or defensive replacement. But that wasn't this was about. This was the Yankees coming out just not interested. Again, more errors in the first 3 games than runs scored.
Yep.
That's not an execution problem. That's a where are you on earth problem. And the manager's job is to make sure that you're grounded and to make sure that you're focused. And this team is typically not grounded and not focused. And we sat here and we said, don't know if we should be fooled by this recent run of form, winning 8 of 10. And we were right, because there was no reason to be optimistic about that, because we're now back at square one. This was a team that, again, ranked at the bottom of the American League for their most recent 55-game stretch. That is a third of the season. If you are the worst team in your respective league for a third of the season, you are not a real team. So the Yankees, again, are relying on and you look at the standings, right? Like, the Yankees are a half game back of the Red Sox. The world is not falling apart, but they should be 6 games up if they just played proper baseball and focused and executed like an extra 14% of the time. And they don't do that. So and the Yankees will rely on, okay, maybe we'll get hot in the postseason, or, all it takes is just getting to the end and then putting the pieces together when it all matters. And it doesn't, because again, you don't beat real teams in the playoffs. You beat the AL Central and the Oakland Sacramento A's, and then nobody else. So it's officially, for me, an Aaron Boone problem.
Yeah, I get tired of people criticizing Aaron Boone early in the season for just individual defensive lapses. Like, Oswald Peraza makes an error at third and it leads to a run. That's not an Aaron Boone issue. That's not a culture problem. It's not like he should have told him not to make an error. But the Yankees show up in the first 2 innings of the biggest clash of the year at home against the Red Sox and make 3 errors in an inning and a run scores. That's an Aaron Boone problem. That is not setting your team up for success. Physical, mental. These players need to be locked in. It's endemic, it's cultural, and it cascades upon itself. It's a ball rolling down a hill. Like, you have 3 errors in that inning plus an error late, 4 errors total in the first game against the Red Sox, a series that, yeah, you're at a sleep disadvantage entering, but the manager has to work with his players to get around that, find a motivational tactic, find a way to lock them in. Nobody was locked in.
No.
That means new voice needed. Sorry. And you saw both the physical and mental edges the Red Sox had on the Yankees in that first game. The errors, the mental mistakes, and that 3-error inning. Yeah, that's the Red Sox having a mental edge over New York right now at the margins. But then the physical, the physical manifestation of lack of sleep shows up in the 9th inning. The Yankees have a 1-run game. It's 4-3, still winnable. Are they going to win it? Probably not, but still winnable. You got to go to one of your best relievers. Who do you go with? Your innings eater, your middle innings guy, Yerry De Los Santos, in a 4-3 game, because you ran out of bullpen guys the night before because you didn't get the day off and they did. So double advantages. The Yankees sleepwalked through the start of that game and then were forced into an unfavorable matchup late in the game because they let it stay close, because they couldn't deliver with the bases loaded, because they made errors to allow runs to score. And then instead of being in a game you lead 5 or 6-1 in the 9th, you're in a 4-3 game where you have a 1-run deficit. You've got to get this, the last guy in the bullpen protecting a 1-run deficit. He gives a cookie to Roman Anthony. I'm also only going to say this once. Roman Anthony's really, really good.
Yeah,
really good, an incredible young player. If similar quotes were coming out from the Yankees talking about a rookie who'd been up there for like 2.5 months, Red Sox fans would be calling it insane overkill. Trevor Story said yesterday that Roman Anthony could be the face of baseball. It has been 2 months and he has an 820 OPS. He's been very good. The face, can we pause face of baseball until 2 years maybe? Like, what? Like, somebody else asked a different Red Sox player about Roman Anthony's mindset every single day. Like, can we let it play out?
Alex Cora comparing him to Juan Soto before the series starts. It's just like, give me a break.
He seems to be very, very good. He went 0 for 8 with 5 Ks against Max Fried and Carlos Rodon. Like, he's the rookie of the year. He's the runaway rookie of the year. It's a shame he didn't play more. Incredibly good baseball player with a keen eye and a ton of talent. And the Red Sox got him at a bargain. But we're asking a different Red Sox player every single day, like, hey, have you noticed, does Roman Anthony have dandruff? Like, is there an imperfection? Like, every day we got to ask a different question about that. Give me a break. But yeah, Yerry De Los Santos, let him take a hanger out to right. He schooled you. He owned you. He put you to sleep because you opened the door for him and you gave him a chance to.
Yeah. And I want to go back, actually, because you were talking about the personnel issues, the physical toll from Wednesday. If you go back to Wednesday, 2 opportunities the Yankees had to extend the lead on that game. Runner on second with 0 outs in the 4th. Runner on second with 1 out in the 6th. If they just figure out a way to get one of those runs across the plate, they're not in dire straits. They're not burning the entire bullpen. And then they're maybe in better shape for the opener on Thursday. So, again, it comes down to cashing in. They didn't have the worst game in the world against the Rays. But going 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position is just, it's still not sufficient and it's not good. And you're talking about a below average team in Tampa where you should be capitalizing on just an inferior opponent, and they don't. So then it leads to this, and that's more of what we're talking about.
Yeah, and we're talking about, this isn't, they escaped that game in extras. They got it. But you want to talk about games given away? The fact that they're tied with the Red Sox in the loss column is a miracle, given the number of games they have just handed to their opponent over the last 3-4 months. There were a few in April. We're not talking normal blown saves here.
No.
We're talking multi-run leads, 6th inning or later,
meltdowns,
handed away. 8-4 game in Tampa, the Miami game, which is going to be the defining game of the year, no matter what happens to them. But you're right, they win yesterday. It feels almost like an accidental win. You got to win one someday. You can't lose every time you play the Red Sox. It's kind of amazing that these are the 2 teams, these 2 Yankees and Red Sox teams, where the Red Sox had that 8-game winning streak. Because in 2009, that was a Yankees team trying to figure itself out after importing a ton of stars and dealing with an A-Rod suspension in the first half. And then the Yankees went 9-1 down the stretch when they did figure it out. Not surprising that there was a reversal. This year, it's a pretty good Red Sox team against a good Yankees team. A B-minus Yankees team. This is not a dominant Red Sox team against the worst Yankees team they've ever faced.
These teams are on equal footing.
Yeah.
The Yankees probably having the Yankees have more star talent, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't think that matters because the Red Sox are more balanced. But yeah, there shouldn't be this big of a discrepancy.
No, and the Red Sox have a guy in Garrett Crochet who's supposed to do what Garrett Crochet did on Saturday, and he did. The Yankees have a guy in Max Fried who's supposed to do what he did on Friday. He did. He was incredible. So like silver linings, Max Fried figured it out. He found it. Jazz Chisholm hit 2 home runs on Sunday. Trent Grisham, who shows up every time the Yankees need a clutch homer, showed up with 2 more clutch homers on Sunday. But it just, it's bizarre that these are the 2 Yankees and Red Sox teams that have been matched up and locked in a Red Sox just running away, 8-game winning streak, because they should be roughly evenly matched. And they came into this series. It's so damning. Like you said, the Red Sox were cold. The Yankees were hot, even though they expended a little too much energy in the finale in Tampa. This should have been a split pretty effortlessly. And if the Yankees had been a little bit more prepared, they could have taken 3 out of 4. But instead, they let the more prepared but colder team just absolutely walk all over them in the 3rd game after shutting them down in the 2nd one and winning a nail-biter in the 1st. So, I mean, the silver lining to me, I'm going to celebrate Max Fried. I'm excited for Jazz and Grisham. Devin Williams looked really good in the 8th inning yesterday for whatever reason. That was maybe the weirdest inning of the year.
Yeah.
Anthony Volpe as a defensive replacement followed by Roman Anthony and Trevor Story striking out against Devin Williams. You may never see that again. So I have to agree how blessed we are that we saw that. We got to win. But other than a couple of strange moments and the main silver lining is just this Red Sox series is over and it's 3 more weeks before I have to think about another one because the buildup was unbearable. Game 1 through game 4, it was just unbearable.
Yeah, and just a note, Aaron Judge 1 for 14 with 6 strikeouts. So
and he hit a ball on Saturday that looked like it should have gotten out to right to the porch, and it kind of didn't even come that close. It's
I mean, it's just more of the same narrative that we talk about. Like that's the captain. I'm not saying he needs to bat 400 every series, but you look at the numbers, and if we want to do the splits this year, let's see.
Well, Alex Bregman went like 2 for 3 every game in this series.
Every day. It doesn't matter.
Roman Anthony hit a big bomb again. Credit to him. He almost hit one yesterday in the middle of the innings that somehow didn't get out, and Grisham went back and got it in the 6th in that fateful inning. But yeah, the Red Sox stars were stars. Crochet and Bregman and Anthony. Anthony struggled against the top flight pitching, but bullied the lesser arms. And Bregman was just a metronome. He was incredible. And Aaron Judge
on the year versus the Red Sox, 231 with a 799 OPS, 19 strikeouts in 10 games. Aaron Judge against the Astros this year, 222 average, 639 OPS. It's only in 3 games they're going to be playing again, so he has a chance to redeem himself. But, I mean, the Red Sox thing is more of something we talk. Aaron Judge, terrible at Fenway Park. Aaron Judge coming out and having the comments he did on Saturday. Captain, like I get you need to deflect blame as best you can and take responsibility, but not the right quote. I don't think the right message to send, and not enough accountability for his own struggles against this team that has gotten the better of the Yankees during his entire tenure since essentially debuting. So I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if that's just an overall cultural thing with the organization and how they like to approach hot topics, but it's not a good look. And then you compare the stats to the comments, and it just seems like, it always comes back to the Yankees. It seems like, baseball's hard, man. Like, difficult sport. It's like just as difficult for the other team. So why does it seem that much more difficult for you?
Yeah.
Alex Cora knows how to pitch to Aaron Judge. I think that's the end of the story. And Aaron Boone, I don't think has any idea how to pitch to any of the good Red Sox hitters. As you saw with Rafael Devers. Like, imagine if he was in the series, it'd be a sweep.
That's why it's crazy that again, this team without Rafael Devers went on a major winning streak against the New York Yankees. Like, that's what's even more. Although the last time we saw them, they did have Devers. It was only this series where they did not. And I didn't notice his absence. They looked just as good. Although 3 for 19 with Risp in the first game. That's crazy. Yankees let him off the hook. Let him off the hook.
286 on base percentage for Judge in those 10 games, too. That's like 3 walks. That's really bad. Really bad. It's not only really bad for just regular standards. That's essentially an average player OBPing closer to the Mendoza line.
Yeah. And I don't want to be disingenuous to previous versions of arguments that I've had. Sorry, like Cal Raleigh is the MVP for me this year.
At this point. At this point.
It's not, I don't even think it's rude, but I think if you're defending Aaron Judge at this point, I mean, look, Aaron Judge is the second most exciting player in the American League this season. But it's like in 2022, when we were defending Judge against Shohei Ohtani, and people were just showing us Shohei Ohtani's WAR and being like, how can you even argue against this? And it's like, Aaron Judge is about to set a home run record. Like he's been an unbelievable narrative changer. He's been better at the things he's been best at. Like he's been better offensively than Ohtani that year. Although Ohtani's WAR was an Ohtani pitching was not he pitched every year at that point. It was not enough of a factor to push him over the edge for me over the season Aaron Judge was having. Same deal this year. If you look at everything but homers and RBI, Judge is in the lead on Cal Raleigh, but he was having a spectacular season earlier in the year. Now he's having a very good Aaron Judge season, all things considered. Then he missed some time with injury, and Cal Raleigh just set the all-time catcher home run record yesterday, and it's August 24th. People do pay attention to homers and RBI, and I think the MVP should be a narrative award so that the same players don't win 8 straight. Mike Trout if you just gave it based on top WAR, Mike Trout and Ohtani and Judge would have alternated for the past like 13 years.
Mhm.
But sometimes we have a moment like this where we can reward someone like Cal Raleigh. And I think he is your MVP. And I think Aaron Judge is the most talented offensive player in the American League. And he's going to
Correct.
finish with numbers befitting of that. But I think Cal Raleigh's your MVP.
And the Mariners have less talent than the Yankees, and the Mariners are in the same position as the Yankees, and Cal Raleigh's contributions have gotten the Mariners to neck and neck with the Yankees. Aaron Judge got injured. I think that also plays a role here. I'm not saying that his play has been poor because he randomly slumped, but in the second half, 24 games, he's batting 193 with a 744 OPS. Those aren't Aaron Judge numbers. Those aren't sustainable MVP numbers that will get you through the year to remain in, at the top of the like undisputed. I'm talking about like being an undisputed MVP, which is what some people act as if he should be. Under no circumstance does somebody go through a stretch like this and are able to maintain their undisputed position at the top of the argument. And at this point, you want to talk about Aaron Boone, like there's a legitimate lane to bench Aaron Judge at this point for a game or two. Mm-hmm. He's not producing. So yes, him in the lineup in theory makes this team more fearsome. It just didn't against a very important opponent. So I love Aaron Judge. There's the numbers are telling a completely different story. The at-bats are telling a completely different story. He's commenting on his injury as if things are maybe not getting better. Mentioned that he thinks he can help the team on both sides of the ball, but we'll see when he can come back. Doesn't seem like things are improving. I don't know if batting is making it worse, but I think maybe just being a static DH is affecting the ability to produce. I don't know. We've had the same theories with Giancarlo Stanton and have noticed a market improvement when he's being able to alternate reps on defense and on offense. So, if these numbers are not, he's struck out 29 times in 24 games. His slugging is under 400. I mean, that's a problem for Aaron Judge. Is it a problem for an average major leaguer? No, it's not. It's a pretty good line for an average major leaguer, but we're talking about one of the best players in the game.
Yeah, he misses the outfield, but can he play the outfield? We're going to have to find that out soon. And they should give him a breather. I don't know if they will, but someone that they did give a breather to yesterday, Anthony Volpe. Again, can a single managerial decision change the trajectory of the season? I'm still inclined to say no, but anything is a good start over what we were seeing at the tail end of Saturday's game. So here comes Jose Caballero to start yesterday. And I'm going to criticize the Yankees a lot on social media over the next month, I'm sure, as long as it looks like it did over the weekend against winning teams. But here are some winners. There are some winners on the New York Yankees. David Bednar, winner. Trent Grisham, winner. Cody Bellinger, winner. These are newcomers. These were smart additions. Jose Caballero, winning baseball player. The more you can get him into baseball games, the better. Does he have to be your starting shortstop? No, I'm not going to go that far. But did having him in the lineup yesterday really help? Runners on the corners, he came through with a sacrifice fly to Nate Eaton, who was playing yesterday for some reason. Held it down defensively for sure. Is he going to be a starting shortstop? The offensive numbers look a lot like Volpe's because he's not a guy who's expected to carry the offensive load. But if you can use him, use him. Get him in baseball games. Winning player, winning mentality, winning attitude, aggression. And he comes in yesterday, and does he spark them to victory? No, I think that's taking it 15 steps too far. He didn't do much. He delivered when he was called upon with a runner in scoring position once. But it was nice to see the Yankees not insert Volpe back into the starting lineup immediately on Monday. They're going to give Caballero, presumably, another chance. And Volpe will be playing on Tuesday, I think. And he always plays better when he's gotten some time off to breathe and regroup and reset. Look at what he did after the All-Star break. Look at what he does the first week and a half of the season every year. He loves breaks. So give him breaks. You have an aggressive, winning baseball player who can take over for him twice a week. Keep Anthony Volpe fresh. You might see the best version of Volpe down the stretch. What is the best version of Volpe? Is there a top prospect version of Volpe still locked in there? I'm not sure. Can we find him in late August? I don't think so.
No.
But can we at least get a better version? Can we maximize the version that we have? I hope so. I hope they're doing whatever it takes to get the best version of Volpe that still exists out of him for the rest of the season, however long this season lasts. And using Caballero in his place at short twice a week is probably the best way to do that on the fly.
I mean, that would be the least they can do. We've talked about this for years now, the organization not putting Anthony Volpe in a position to succeed. The Yankees, you saw the pieces that came out after Saturday, The Athletic, multiple times, NJ.com, New York Post, list goes on about how the Yankees have indirectly or unintentionally put a spotlight on Volpe by pretending to ignore all of the shortcomings. And just talking about the shortcomings with him, I think it became almost a shtick because everyone felt like, oh yeah, you're going to pick on Anthony Volpe, of course, because he was supposed to be a top prospect and he was he came up at the same time of all these other young shortstop peers. You go down the list, and that's how he was compared to all of them in a vacuum. And the stats were bad. He was clearly rungs below all of them. Like, you look at Zach Neto, and you're just like, where did everything go wrong? This was was he supposed to be Zach Neto? But no, he was supposed to be at least a version of it. And we don't see, there is no semblance of, outside of like the scouting report, like again, the bullshit prospect scouting reports. So over reading any of them, you look at both side by side and you're like, oh yeah, like these profiles are similar. Taking the next step to Major League Baseball? Absolutely not. Couldn't be different. So Volpe, the stats, the numbers, the splits with him on days of rest are the only positive thing that the Yankees have to lean on for the rest of the way. You cannot, over his last month, you cannot play a man at the most important position on the field who's hitting 198 with a 610 OPS. You can't. And it has nothing to do with Anthony Volpe, the person. It has nothing to do with making him feel bad because his production doesn't warrant starting reps. It has to do with he is a child in some respects. He is 23 years old, and he is on the biggest stage in all of Major League Baseball, playing the most important position on the most recognizable team, arguably, and you are letting him die on the vine. And it's not right to him. It's the whole Devin Williams. It's a larger version of the Devin Williams conversation we had 3 weeks ago when Aaron Boone was throwing him into games and just letting him get shelled and letting him lose games and letting the fan base run roughshod all over him. Yeah. That discussion came up this weekend with Volpe because the Cashman and the Boone comments about, Cashman making a WWE ref. Oh, we don't like to pile drive our players when the media and the fans are coming down on them. It's like, but you are literally delivering the finishing move to Anthony Volpe in the middle of the baseball diamond by allowing him to do this against a rival. Did Anthony Volpe's ninth inning error matter? No. Did his dumb defense, did his overthrow and his silly defensive play? No. The Yankees were not winning those games, and a run didn't score when it actually mattered when he made that mistake. Yeah. But it's the easiest thing for fans and for opposing fans to look at and clip and then make a mockery of.
Look at the score. I mean, again, the score, which is a media outlet that I know is based in Canada, whatever. The Yankees won yesterday's game 7-2. Anthony Volpe came in as a defensive replacement in the 8th inning, fielded a ground ball. Cool. He was not the story. He was not the story of that game. He shouldn't have been anybody's focus yesterday. And yet the post-game, the score graphic was Anthony Volpe 6 didn't hurt the Yankees. It said 0 errors today for Anthony Volpe. That's what he's become because the Yankees have coddled him. If the Yankees gave him time away from the game or weren't so easy on him when he made these sort of unforgivable mental mistakes, then he would not be in a position where him fielding one ground ball was national news because it was worth retweets and it was troll bait.
Mm-hmm. And we had the Blue Jays account call him out earlier. All of Red Sox Twitter, if you go to there, it's essentially just Volpe parody. That's what they've resorted to. So this is a full symptom of the Yankees doing whatever they've done with him. And it's questions that people rightfully ask because this organization has treated other top prospects and other young players like dirt. You make a mistake, you're out. You don't hit for a week after being called up, you're back down in the minor leagues. So we don't know what the process was here. We don't know what the philosophy was because it was so much of a further departure from what they've done in the past that it's now become an issue because everybody has caught on and they've looked at how the Yankees have handled business, and now we have an outlier here performing the worst out of anybody who has debuted since 2023. There are 88 players who have debuted and logged, I think it was 1,500 or 1,200 plate appearances since 2023. Anthony Volpe is dead last or second to last in every metric. So it's not like you're not hiding anything anymore. You're not doing fancy split stats to make somebody look worse than the other person. It is literally the totality of the numbers, and it's now come down to the eye test. You can see Anthony Volpe's mistakes. John Boy did a whole breakdown yesterday about how the Yankees changed their defensive alignment for the 2 games they rested Volpe by putting Caballero at second base, and then they were going after the trail runner both times. So Volpe clearly doesn't know where to take the cutoff throw or where to direct the outfielder, and that's a problem because he's essentially the captain of the defense with the importance that is bestowed upon him as the shortstop. So who is answering to that? And why? Like Aaron Boone gave a weird explanation as to why Volpe did it in one of the other series, and he's like, "Yeah, I think he was just trying to get Grishy to go over here." And it's like, why? That's not the play. That is not the proper way to direct your outfielder and to communicate with your outfielder. So I don't know what defensive lapses have happened with him. Seems to be a focus thing. But you look at the defense regressing and not being as consistent. Look, he has largely performed well on defense over the last 3 weeks, but the offense has been the worst it's ever been. So you don't get a pat on the back for now executing one half of your job to a degree that doesn't make you national news, because now you're not contributing anything on the other end. So whatever this team has done to him is unfair. The media coverage of it is unfair, but it was the Yankees who allowed all of this to happen. And they'll never admit that, and that's fine. But the Brian Cashman clip yelling at Joel Sherman is going to it's going to be an annual thing. It's going to resurface at every point in every season when the Yankees are having shortstop problems, when Anthony Volpe's slumping, and the Yankees have nobody but to blame but themselves for that.
Agreed.
The GM went scorched earth on a reporter over asking questions about a rookie who was well far behind in his development that the world saw, and essentially told you don't know what you're talking about. You're an idiot. You're jumping the gun. And now here we are 3 years later, and the media coverage is the worst and most mundane and harsh. It's downright harsh, and it's unfair to him.
Yeah, the Yankees always tell you they know more than you do, but we've watched it unfold for nearly 3 full years now. I think we know just as much as we need to know. Something went wrong along the way. How much of it can be recovered, if anything, has yet to be determined. But right now, the best course of action is Jose Caballero a couple of times per week. Let's see how
just a couple times.
Just a couple of times per week. Let's see how Monday turns out. There was a time when it looked like Volpe got hurt on that shoulder where we said he was oddly one of the most indispensable players because he, even when struggling, could not be replaced by someone adequate. Now he can be. Yes. Now if he's still nursing an injury or if he's just unsettled, Jose Caballero is there to help. They made a good trade deadline acquisition, so now let's use him, and he's under control for a very long time. If Anthony Volpe was Zach Neto, the Yankees would be in first place. I don't even want to think about it. That'd be great. Well, we will see everybody on Thursday afternoon, 2:00 Eastern time. Appreciate everyone sticking with the earlier debut time today. That pod will be after a Washington Nationals series heading into a 4-game road series in Chicago against the Chicago White Sox. Pressure still on. Got to win baseball games. Just got to keep trying to win baseball games. It does feel good that these are not series against the best of the best. That is not saying the Yankees are going to perform better because they're facing lower tier competition. It's just saying, I don't have to look at that scoreboard and see the Astros or see the Red Sox or see the Blue Jays. Like, that's going to be nice for a week before it's really not nice for 2 more weeks. And then we go back to these lesser teams, the Orioles and the White Sox again. And maybe the Yankees can actually play an interesting brand of baseball for the rest of the year.
I wonder.
Or maybe they'll just continue hanging on for dear life and occasionally winning, but usually losing, because that's where we've been at for months now. We'll see everybody on Thursday afternoon. I'm Adam Weiner. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weiner. Thomas Carinante, where can the people find you?
At Tommy's_takes. We are both at the official Yanks Go Yard account at Yanks Go Yard FS. YanksGoYard.com. Read all the content. Plenty of stuff going down. Roster's expanding soon. Waiver deadline coming up. I don't know if anybody will get released that would be interesting to the Yankees, but it's all worth tracking. Prospects we got to keep up with. The end of the season is nearing in the minor leagues. And yeah, I mean, the least this team could do for us, I think, is win 6 of 7 in these next 7 games against really bad teams. You can't really ask for that, but at this rate, if the Yankees want to treat the regular season the way they're going to treat the regular season, then beat the bad teams, move up in the standings, and then I guess deal with the fate that comes with facing a better opponent in the playoffs. Thanks.
Just don't send us to Boston. Even send me to Houston.
I'd rather go to Houston than Boston.
I'd rather go to Houston than Boston. Although, of course, the Yankees win yesterday and they maintain that position in the second wild card, sending them to Boston. It feels like they're going to, God is just going to give them enough wins to be able to send them to Fenway Park at the end of the season. Love you, God. You're the best. We'll see everybody on Thursday's podcast. Go Yankees, begrudgingly.